David Aiken, Global News. Good
Hi,
morning. Good afternoon, Premier.
How are you doing?
Good to have you in Ottawa.
Yeah, great to be here always.
I wanted to ask about the border security details announced
Yes.
by the federal government yesterday, whether you think that's sufficient, and also we're trying to figure out where this 10,000 border personnel is going to come from. I wonder if it might be OPP personnel perhaps will be part of this calculation. Give me your thoughts about that border security.
Well, I think we've always put that in the window over the last 3 or 4 weeks. The federal government is coming out investing $1.3 billion, and that's buying more helicopters, more boots on the ground, hiring more CBSA officers, and working collaboratively with the DEA and the U.S. Border Security, with the RCMP. Here, the OPP have over 200 officers ready to go, as well as drones and our helicopters and boot patrol, ATV patrol. So we're going to tighten that border up until it squeaks. But it works on both sides of the border, by the way. And I've mentioned this in a couple of newscasts down in the U.S. Yeah, I've been on the PM for a long time about tightening up the border. We are tightening up the border. When President Trump says he needs the border tightened up, we acted immediately, and we're going to continue to act immediately. But let's keep in mind, which I've said to the U.S., and I'll say that, I've said it to the elected officials, it works two ways. We've seen over 25,000 kilos of cocaine, heroin, opioids come across from our southern border into Canada. We've seen illegal guns at 95% of these heinous crimes that are committed not just in Ottawa, in Toronto, the outlying region, they're all coming from the U.S. So in saying all that, we have to work together. And we have been working together. I met with the DEA. We've met with the Border Patrol. We met with our OPP and RCMP, and everyone's pitching in. That's the way it should work. It's not one-sided here.
And I don't know if you had a chance to watch the president in the Oval Office yesterday afternoon. He made a lot of comments, one of which was, "I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state." And that's a direct quote. How can we sit down and negotiate with somebody who's got that in the back of his head? Is that wise? And he's broken CUSMA. He's violated, he was about to violate all sorts of terms of CUSMA. How can we trust this guy?
Yeah, it's very simple. Canada's not for sale. That's off the table right there. And I can't control what the president says. I don't think too many people can. But in saying that, he has some really smart people around him. And anyone who thinks Donald Trump is not a smart negotiator, he's a negotiator, trust me. You don't become president twice and run a big business without being a super smart negotiator. But it's about working together and explaining to the American people. That's where the pressure comes. The pressure comes from the senators, the governors, the congresswomen and men that are getting calls from their constituents, shouting up and down and screaming. It's like 3,600 products the LCBO was ready to pull off the shelves. Just think of this, folks. 3,600 products, 35 states, and out of the 3,600 products, I'm guessing close to over 2,000 companies, all calling up their federal senator, their federal congressperson, their local congressperson, state congressperson, their governor. Lines are blowing up. There's one thing I learned. I've learned a lot. One thing, don't mess with people's booze. They lose their minds. And that's what happened last negotiation when we pulled, we pulled some booze off the shelves last time, the bourbon in Kentucky. People love the bourbon. It's their country, their state, their religion, and then bourbon in Kentucky. That's how it goes.
Hey, Premier Ford, David Baxter here from the Canadian Press. Now, you called this election to respond to the tariff threat. We now know there's going to be that 30-day reprieve there, and there is still more work to do there, of course. But there are a lot of issues affecting Ontarians here at home. Many can't find a family doctor. We're still dealing with a housing crisis. When will Ontarians hear your plans to address the health and housing issues the province faces?
Yeah, well, we've been working hard. We put more stuff up front. Matter of fact, the mayor ended up getting a nice big check with the city council because he met the BFF fund. And we're going to continue making sure that we invest and cut red tape and regulations. Nothing gets frustrating more, gets me more frustrated than, and it doesn't happen in Ottawa that much, but other jurisdictions, let's say. I went to a company yesterday, and they said, well, we might be moving down to the US or Mexico, not because we don't love it here and we've been here close to 100 years, is because I put a permit into the city and I have construction guys outside and it's taking a year and a half to get a permit. Guys, let's work on COVID speed. Every municipality, the province, the federal government, no more hokey pokey, put it on the carousel, go around for comments, hop on. I'm an expert at this. I'm telling you, I lived, I've worked in Toronto, City of Toronto. I know how it works. And then they put the comments on, and it goes on the carousel. It comes back for more comments. And the little Miss Jones is worried about the grasshopper and everything else you could think of. We need to start building. We need to start building businesses. So what I did, I called the mayor, and I won't say the name, and said, you know this permit? This guy's ready to move 200 jobs down south of the border because of permitting. So we have to move quick, no matter if it's this or building pipelines across our country or getting shovels in the ground for critical minerals. Do you hear what President Trump says? Invest $1 billion and we're waiving everything. You're going to get shovels in the ground. This is what we're competing against. The rules have changed now here in Ontario and Canada. We have to start moving, or guess what? They'll chew us up and spit us out in about 3 seconds. We have the brightest, most capable people in the world. We have the greatest nation, the greatest sub-sovereign nation right here in Ontario. Let's pull together, let's get our act together, start approving permits and approvals across the board, no matter if it's municipal or provincial.
Yeah, I want to pick up on something you said to Ian Bailey's first question about the hot mic moment there. Yeah. You said you thought Trump would be different this time around. He did campaign on tariffs once again. In his first administration, he hit Canada with steel and aluminum tariffs.
That's right.
What were you expecting specifically that was going to be different about Trump when he didn't make bones about it? Tariffs were coming.
Yeah, like I said, I can work with anyone. I don't care who it is. I think I proved it to the country, no matter if it's Liberal government or in Toronto, an NDP government or anyone. I just thought things might be a little different. We experienced 5 or 6 weeks of tariffs last time. I appreciate the federal government getting me involved down there. And what changed it is when we started to go after their bourbon. Honest, that's what happened. And I thought, okay, we're going to move forward. The economy's good. I believe in people that want to put money back into people's pockets. I believe in elected officials, no matter what stripe, lowering taxes on people and on businesses. That's economics 101. Put money into people's pockets and businesses right here. Right here. They're going to reinvest it in their people, technology, into their facility. But I'll tell you one thing. President Trump's not getting a Christmas card anytime soon, to say the least. And I'll do everything I can, mark my words, everything I can to protect Ontario jobs, people, communities, and businesses.
Mr. Ford, Mark McAllister from City News.
Hi, Mark.
I'm going to stick with the comments you made yesterday again. How many Ontario voters do you think supported the idea of Donald Trump getting elected?
Oh, I don't know. You know what I mean? I know there's support across the country. We aren't talking about that. I'm talking about the most serious situation this country has ever seen. I think it's even more serious than the pandemic. This is someone targeting Ontario. Do you know why he's targeting Ontario? Because we're an economic powerhouse now. He wouldn't be targeting Ontario 7 years ago. Matter of fact, they helped him. 300,000 jobs were chased out of the province. All we saw is taillights heading down to the U.S. along with companies. Not any longer. We've seen investments of $70 billion. I think in 23 that all of us, people like right here in Ambico, created more jobs than all 50 U.S. states combined. Why? Because we cut the burden, cut the red tape and the regulation, reduced the cost of doing business by $8 billion. Companies are fleeing from all over the world to come here to Ontario because of the quality of the people, because we've cut $1 billion of red tape, because we've never ever raised a tax on businesses. Matter of fact, we've reduced them, lowered the burden $8 billion a year, and we're putting money back into these hardworking people's pockets. Simple as, no matter if it's filling up on your gas, every time you fill up on your gas, I wish we had a big sign on every pump. Because of the provincial government, the gas is 10.7 cents a litre cheaper than it would have been. The other parties believe in the carbon tax. I don't believe in gouging people. I believe in giving money back. on the $200 rebate. We were going ahead, no matter if there was election or no election, they were getting their $200 rebate. And I'll tell you the difference between ourselves and the other two parties or three parties. They believe when you get money in the government, it's the government's money. It's not the people's money. We think totally different. This is people's taxes that they paid, and we saw a little increase of revenues. We went around the cabinet table, it took us about 3 seconds to decide we're giving it back to the people that gave it to us. Very few governments that I know think that way. And I'll tell you, the three other parties, they don't think that way. They think, I'm going to take that extra money and I'm going to tax you more. That's their philosophy. High taxes do not work anywhere in the world.
You supported Donald Trump during his first time in office, when those first tariffs were implemented. What made you think that this was going to be any different?
Well, I went down there, and again, I thank the federal government for sending me down there to negotiate with Mr. Lighthizer, Bob Lighthizer at the time. Had a great relationship with him, and we all worked collaboratively together with Mr. Lighthizer, with the federal government, with all the provincial premiers at the time. We also all hopped on the plane and came down to Washington to meet the governors. Folks, this is all about relationship building. It's not tit for tat and back and forth. It doesn't work that way. You have to respect negotiations. When someone says we're going to give you a reprieve for 30 days, you don't jam it to them. You respect the art of negotiations. You say, that's fine, then we'll pull back. Folks, I got to explain it again. I don't think people understand the catastrophic hit we will take in the economy. There'd be 500,000 people losing their jobs here in Ontario. You negotiate fairly, and we're going to continue to negotiate fairly and honorably with respect on both sides of the border. We can be so much better if we stand together, if we're united together. We can build the AmCan fortress I keep talking about, and that's my goal.
Thank you, Premier. Marco Vigliotti, iPolitics. I do want to stay with the hot mic comments, but pick up what you said about those investments that you're saying are being drawn to Ontario. A big part of that are the investments your government's made, along with the federal government, in EV manufacturing. And while fair, President Trump did announce the 25% tariffs during the campaign, one thing he was very clear about was that he was going to dismantle the Biden government's EV subsidies program. Considering that this is what we're staring down,
Yep.
This may put more strain on your government and on those business decisions for those EV manufacturings. Can you explain why you were still excited to see this man take the White House?
Well, again, I'll work with anyone. I think you guys are obsessed with that. I will work with anyone. And I think I've been very, very clear yesterday in my press conference how I feel about President Trump. In saying that, let's put personalities aside. This is about people's livelihoods. This is about not just Canadian livelihoods in Ontario, but this is about American livelihoods that are going to lose their jobs. They're going to feel the pain like they've never felt before. This is all part of negotiating, and anyone that has ever negotiated that's listening understands this. Again, you don't go and start attacking each other, and we got attacked unprovoked. We're sitting here thinking we have great neighbors, which we do, best in the world, in my opinion, and all of a sudden, he launches an economic war. And the whole world is watching us right now. Two of the closest friends in the world, cherished allies, been shoulder to shoulder, and all of a sudden he gets in, and not just a little attack, he wants a full-out economic war. That does not work. And hopefully we're going to continue communicating that message to the American people, continue to communicate that with the senators and the governors and congresspeople. Keep in mind, their system works differently than ours. Yes, he has presidential powers, but he has to get through Senate and he has to get through Congress. And two of his own senators came out publicly, and there's many that haven't come out publicly yet, that don't support this. They do not support attacking Canada. Simple as that. China's the problem, not Canada.
And just as a follow-up, Premier, yesterday you doubled down saying on the need to remove internal trade barriers, saying we're in an economic war, and I know we have a temporary reprieve, but I just want to get firstly clarification: is this still something that's a priority for this government? And sorry, just one other point. And I understand there's some things like certifications being recognized across jurisdictions, but there's some provisions you put in place to encourage businesses to buy Ontario products, for your government to choose from Ontario producers.
Yes.
Would you consider expanding that to the entire country, considering that we may be facing this pressure, this tariff threat from the U.S.?
Yeah, well, now that's a good question. So interprovincial trade barriers, we were just talking to Tim Houston. He's one of the premiers that's heading this up. We were just chatting this morning over text message. I'll be calling him after this. I say go full steam ahead. Like, this could add 50 to 100 billion to our GDP. This is good. Again, the games have changed, folks. In Canada, before, I've been trying to do this for 6 years with some other premiers. Barriers are up. Well, yeah, I'm all good to do this, but let's protect the bottle of wine that gets shipped from, that's just an example, but let's protect the bottle of wine from BC over to Ontario. We can do quicker and faster trade with 51 other countries in the world, including the U.S., than we can with, I don't know, BC and Ontario, for example. It's ridiculous. We need to change things. If we want to survive, we want to be prosperous, the rules have to change. And I think everyone knows right across the country the rules have to change.
Hi, Premier. Davis Legree with the Ottawa Compass. I wanted to stick with tariffs. They were paused yesterday after the Prime Minister and President Trump had a phone call.
Yeah, thank
you
God.
have called this election because you say you need a strong mandate to stand up to President
right.
Trump. What was your role in the negotiations that led to the pause in the tariffs yesterday?
I'm not going to get deep into this. I can't. But I can tell you, I think everyone's seen me. I'm out there working the U.S. media, hitting probably 100 million people through all the different, be it CNN or Fox or NBC or Fox Business and so on and so forth. I'm on that phone constantly with governors and senators, pretty powerful senators, sitting on powerful committees, getting the message out that we don't want to do this. We don't want to fight. The whole world's watching two of the closest allies fight each other. That's not good, and it's not good for either country, because the rest of those countries around the world, they're sitting back thinking, if they're going after their best and closest ally, they're coming after us next. That's exactly what they're thinking. And I'm hearing it from ambassadors, consul generals, and business people from around the world. This is not good. Uncertainty is not good for business. It's not good for communities and jobs. We need certainty. And we'll do everything we can to work, not only with our federal government, but the U.S. federal government as well. As he has his key people in place, we're going to be continuing communicating. But I think we had I'm going to say we had an extremely strong voice in the decision yesterday. But we have to outlive and outlast Donald Trump for 4 years. That's what we need to do. And anyone who's as naive to think he's just going to roll over and, go to the White House and that's it, they don't know President Donald Trump, I'll tell you that.
And then switching gears real quickly, a question about local politics. Ottawa is one of the few areas where your party, your government, you guys haven't really had electoral success over the last couple of elections. Why do you think that is? Why hasn't your message resonated here in Ottawa?
Well, let's see what happens in this election. We're pretty confident we'll have more seats than the other people. I'm going to be very blunt here. No government, I've been around for 3 decades, no government has shown Ottawa more love and more support and more help than we have. I can't remember a premier having a great relationship with a great mayor like we have, and even his lovely wife's cookies. I think he goes right to my stomach, that goes to my heart, and I actually like your wife a lot more than you, Mayor, but that's all right. But anyways, we just have a great relationship. The council's been great. It's collaborative, but man, have we shown a lot of love here, and I love it. Every time I come here, I think I tell everyone the story. From the day I was nominated, every trip I come here is just incredible. I get excited when they say I'm coming to Ottawa. I really do.
Hi, Premier. Annie Rose Deschâtelet from Le Droit newspaper. Could we have your input on the federal proposition of a sixth bridge linking Gatineau and Ottawa? And what could it mean for the National Capital Region? We've been confirmed by Stephen McKinnon that you discussed this issue with Federal Minister Dominique LeBlanc.
Minister LeBlanc told me about a bridge you were saying?
Yeah, a sixth bridge between Gatineau and Ottawa.
Okay, I can't remember that, but I'm all for infrastructure. And I have a great relationship with Minister LeBlanc, that's no longer the infrastructure minister. But we're in. If we can get federal funding, we can get support from Quebec and Ontario, let's build. I'm all about building and putting infrastructure in. We announced another $22 billion for infrastructure the other day, on top of the $200 billion that we're doing right now across the province. In Ottawa, as you heard, got a good chunk of that, not only the infrastructure of the transit, but also the interchanges and rural roads. That's important. So I believe in infrastructure.
Monsieur Sutcliffe, rapidement, votre présence ici ce midi, est-ce que c'est un peu votre endossement à la candidature de... conférence de presse. Parfait. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Good day, Mr. Ford.
Hi.
I'm Charlie Pinkerton of the Trillium. Long time no see. Earlier today, NDP leader Marit Stiles said that she doesn't think Donald Trump is aware of who you are. You've today and in the past plenty of times talked about the importance of relationships and negotiating. So I'm just wondering if you can share what your personal relationship is with Donald Trump, if there is any.
I don't have a personal relationship with Donald Trump.
Okay, thank you. Our publication published a story earlier today that was about a lawsuit against two former staffers of yours. I won't get into the nitty-gritty, but essentially it's about an alleged scheme to get properties rezoned for development.
I've never heard of this.
Well-
First time I've heard about it.
Okay, well, the question that I have for you is, I'm just wondering if you think that your government has created a culture that, essentially allows people to believe that backroom dealing can help them get...
Absolutely not. It doesn't happen. Anything happens like that, they're fired instantly. I don't play those games. I focus on taking care of the people.
Hello, Mr. Ford. I'm Anna Louise from Radio Canada. Marit Stiles says this morning in a press conference that you left the province vulnerable and weak. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with Marit Stiles between the NDP that prompted up the Liberals that destroyed our province and gave us the largest sub-sovereign debt in the world, highest electricity costs, chased 300,000 jobs out of the province. Look where we're at. Isn't it amazing how different government, things change in 7 years? But we're going to continue being here and protecting the people of Ontario.
During your speech, you say that we need to buy 100% Ontario. How we achieve that?
Well, we're going to make sure that we allocate the $30 billion that we buy, and there's so many different agencies and so on and so forth that buy as well, along with municipalities, 444 municipalities. They have massive buying power. But folks, I don't have to preach this. This is a no-brainer. I've never seen patriotism run so hard and so fast around our country, and I love it. I absolutely love to see patriotism in our country and our province and people waving the Canadian flag. And most of people that I see forget the political stripes. Canada comes first, and I love to see that. So let's all band together. We're an economic powerhouse. Our budget's $214 billion. Very few states in the U.S. can say their budget's $214 billion. Very few companies in the entire world can say their revenues are $214 billion, outside of a few, Walmart and maybe Amazon and a couple others. But we're right up there. So we have the buying power. And you know something? Americans know that. President Trump knows that. That's why we have a target on our back. And that's why we have to stay united, I should say, and fight with everything we have. And we will. Mark my words, we will.
This will be the last reporter.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ford. Thank you for taking the time. Austin Lee here with CTV News. My question is, what does Ontario need to do to reduce reliance on the United States, and how will your government make tangible steps to bring more manufacturing here to Ontario?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. You know, so we've set records on manufacturing. Over 200,000 jobs were created in 2024 alone. We're seeing right now, potentially, I mentioned the $70 billion from all over the world that have come in. By the way, not just in the EV sector. We've seen in the tech sector right here. Everyone thinks tech capital is Waterloo, Kitchener. Yeah, it's great. Those are really good places. The real tech capital is right here in Ottawa. How many companies? Is there 600, Mayor? In the tech sector? Yeah. 800, wow. So this is the tech capital of Canada, and we've invested here in tech companies. Life sciences as well, over $6 million have been invested in Ontario. You have to create the climate, the conditions for companies to come here. If government creates jobs, I'll tell you folks, we're all in deep trouble. We create the climate and the conditions for companies to come here, for the lower taxes, lower energy, but the number one selling feature are our people. They're absolutely incredible. Right now on the table, we have tens of billions of dollars. Right now, it's on hold. People are nervous. That's what I talk about, uncertainty. But there's no better government anywhere in this country that can drive economic growth that we have, and we have a proven track record.
Just as a follow-up to the LRT, or for the LRT announcement here, I wanted to talk about the timeline of this announcement. So when did these conversations begin, and why are you announcing this commitment now?
Well, this conversation's been going on since the day the mayor got elected. He said that's one of the number one issues, and it's a massive financial burden for a city, no matter how big Ottawa is, and it's the second largest in our province. That's a massive burden to put around someone's neck. But we're there. We're going to support the mayor, the citizens of Ottawa, the city council, and it just like 1,000 pounds were just lifted off their shoulders today. But this conversation's been going on every time I talk to the mayor. This guy's a champion. He fights for his people in Ottawa like you've never seen before. And he has the backing of the city council, and he's just an incredible person. He really is. A smart guy, too. Very smart. Sorry, I keep calling you a guy. Sorry, Mayor. He's a smart mayor.
Thank you. This concludes
my lingo.
today's press conference.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Thank you.